morning's talk on the significance of Siddhi Day in Sri Aurobindo's Yoga. The talk will be delivered by Sri Rajanikanth. And Sri Rajanikanth, I think, need no real introduction. We know him quite well. He's quite well known here. He is a staunch devotee of Sri Aurobindo and Mother, and he has been serving Sri Aurobindo Bhavan here for many, many years. And he has been, for the last couple of years, the secretary of Sri Aurobindo Society, Bangalore, Alsur branch here. Today, he is going to give us the talk on today's subject. He is well versed and well read in Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's writings, particularly on the epic Savitri by Sri Aurobindo. He was earlier a senior executive in HAL, and then thereafter he started devoting time on Sri Aurobindo's center here. So I now request Sri Rajanikanth to kindly come over here and deliver today's talk. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Namaskar. Before I commence with my talk, I would like to read from the prayers and meditations of the Mother, which will set the tone for today's talk. March 12th, 1914. O Lord, my one aspiration is to know Thee and serve Thee better every day. What do outer circumstances matter? They seem to me each day more vain and illusory, and I take less and less interest in what is going to happen to us in the outer life. But more and more am I intensely interested in the one thing which seems important to me: to know Thee in order to serve Thee better. All outer events must converge upon this goal and this goal alone. And for that, all depends upon the attitude we have towards them. To seek Thee constantly in all things, to want to manifest Thee ever better in every circumstance. In this attitude lies supreme peace, perfect serenity, true contentment. In it, life blossoms, widens, expands so magnificently in such majestic waves that no storm can any longer disturb it. O Lord, Thou art our safeguard, our only happiness. Thou art our resplendent light, our pure love. our hope and our strength. Thou art our life, the reality of our being. In a reverent and joyful adoration, I bow to Thee. As you know, today's topic is significance of the Siddhi day in Sri Aurobindo's Yoga. This particular event took place in the sadhana of Sri Aurobindo. Actually, it's a milestone in his advancement. This is also called a Darshan Day, where Sri Aurobindo and the mother used to give public darshan on this day. It is very significant, and which we have been observing and celebrating this day for many years. But I want to share my thoughts about the importance of this day and what is the consciousness level achieved on that particular day. So I will just start with a quotation of Sri Savitri, which is my favorite topic. How the man is trying to aspire from his present level and how he is trying to reach to his own goal. A long, dim preparation is man's life, a circle of toil and hope and war and peace, dragged out by life on matters obscure ground. In his climb to a peak no feet have ever trod, he seeks through a penumbra shot with flame, a veiled reality half known, ever missed, a search for something or someone never found, cult of an ideal never made real here, an endless spiral of ascent and fall, until at last is reached the giant point through which his glory shines, for whom we were made, and we break into the infinity of God. Across our nature's borderline we escape into supernature's arc of living light. This now was witnessed in that Son of Force. In him that high transition laid its base. It is how Sri Aurobindo started his own yoga. This is page number 24 in Savitri. You can imagine at the what level he was there when he started his yoga. In him, high transition laid its base. Sri Aurobindo came to Pondicherry in the year 1910. And he waited for 16 years to get a particular milestone in his sadhana, which both mother and Sri Aurobindo are awaiting there for that thing. From that level, his real work started. His ascension towards the supramental plane. So even though it's a difficult path, unique, Sri Aurobindo showed how it could be achieved. He has not done for his personal salvation. He would have already achieved that level. But he wanted to bring the force down to the welfare of the humanity. That is his greatness. It is not for him alone, it is for the entire humanity. Here, to understand this particular level of consciousness, it is called as the Krishna consciousness descended into the physical. Sri Aurobindo got the consciousness of the Krishna, the God consciousness. It is also called, even though it is not the correct definition, he reached the over-mental level of consciousness, over-mind consciousness. To understand this over-mind, we have to go to the different layers of our mental being. And I am going to dwell briefly on all these levels so that you will have a clear perception of what he achieved on that particular day. Basically, it is like this. We are at level, in a particular level of our own consciousness. Man is not yet attained the perfection. In our own way, we are all imperfect beings, with our own limitations. To rise to a higher level, our goal should be to reach the supramental level. Higher the goal, higher you go. So, to reach the supramental level should be our goal. That cannot be even started with our own present imperfection and our mental limitations. There should be some intermediate plane which can take us further towards the higher level. For that level, Sri Aurobindo has glimpsed it, but he is not able to achieve it so far. And with that intention, he made his sadhana and waited for 16 years to achieve that level of over-mental consciousness. It is actually the highest plane of the spiritual transformation before going into the supramental transformation. Over-mind is the highest level of the spiritual transformation. And to tell in his own words, from the Life Divine, I have taken certain excerpts so that you will be able to understand the original writings of Sri Aurobindo without any mental distortion of my own intelligence. Our mind, as we know it, is a power of ignorance seeking for truth, groping with difficulty to find it, reaching only mental constructions and representations of it in word and idea, in mind formations, sense formations, as if bright and shadowy photographs of films of a distant reality were all that it could achieve. Supermind, on the contrary, is in actual and natural possession of the truth, and its formations are forms of the reality, not constructions, representations, or indicative figures. So it's a direct reality comes out from the supermind. There must be somewhere in the descending and ascending scale of being an intermediate power and plane of consciousness. Perhaps something more than that, something with an original creative force through which the involuntary transition from mind in the knowledge to mind in the ignorance was effected. That is, the descent took place. Mind in the knowledge to the mind in the ignorance. It has to pass through that plane and was affected, and through which again evolutionary reverse transitions becomes intelligible and possible. So, it is an intermediate stage wherein you assimilate what you have achieved so far, bring it down to the lower level. Lower level also is prepared. Then you will be in a better position to work for the supramental level. It is the highest possible, one step below Satchidananda. Man is limited by his consciousness, by mind, even by a given range of scale of mind. What is below his mind, submental or mental, but neither to his scale, readily seems to him subconscious or not distinguishable from the complete inconscience. So for man, what is below his mental level, subconscious, unconscious, he cannot see. For him it is intelligible, ununderstandable. What is above it, to him is superconscious for him. and is almost inclined to regard it as a void of awareness, a sort of luminous inconscience. So he will not be able to readily understand both these things unless he is prepared to some extent, where he has got a full opening. Then he says, to get over this, there are two successive moments, which is difficult, but within our capacity. One is, your look should be inwards. You don't say look outside, you have to look outside. Direct it inwards and concentrate. You will be able to find out your own truth of your being. And once you find that truth, it should be an initial endeavor to find it. That should be your main aim. Then it takes over the place of your ego. I becomes the psyche, your soul. You will not be perturbed by outer reactions. When once that is found, you will be able to go to a higher level with the leverage of that soul. These are the two important moments that prepares you to go to a higher scale. Here are two successive moments of consciousness, difficult but well within our capacity, by which we can have access to the superior gradations of our conscious existence. There is first a moment inward by which, instead of living in our surface mind, we break the wall between our external and now our subliminal self. That wall has to be broken between the external and the subliminal self. What we discover within the secret part of ourselves is an inner being, a soul, an inner mind, an inner life, an inner subtle physical entity which is much larger in its potentialities, more plastic, more powerful, more capable of a manifold knowledge and dynamism than our surface mind, life or body. It is much more capable than our present life and body, which gives you that limitation. But once this entry into the inner being is accomplished, the inner self is found to be capable of an opening, an ascent upwards into things beyond our present mental level. So you have to go to beyond your mental level. You have to the help of your own soul, your own psyche. Otherwise, from the horizontal mental level itself, you cannot exceed your mental level with the mental effort alone. That is the second spiritual possibility in us, ascending toward the higher level with the help of our psyche. Then what happens? For there takes place a large dynamic descent of light, knowledge, power, bliss, or other supranormal energies into our self of silence. And we can ascend too into higher regions of the spirit, where its immobile status is the foundation of those great and luminous energies. Then we will be in a better position to go to those realms. It is the first condition that this change, that the mental man we now are, should become inwardly aware and in possession of his own deeper law of being and its processes. We must become the psychic and inner mental being, master of his energies, no longer a slave of the movements of the lower prakriti. Because our lower prakriti contains our present level of mind, vital and body. Vital means life, chronic force, and body. These people try to drag you in their own kingdoms and other way. It brings you down. That is the lower level of consciousness. Movements of the lower prakriti, no longer a slave of the movements of the lower prakriti, in control of it, seated securely in a free harmony with a higher law of nature. An increasing control of the individual over his own action of nature. A more and more conscious participation in the action of universal nature is a marked character It is indeed a logical consequence of the evolutionary principle and process. This is meant why we came here for the world. We have to exclude ourselves, go to a higher level. Whether you do it or not, unconsciously it is already evolving in that direction. But if you are a conscious effort in sadhana, that time could be reduced to some extent. As is inner psychic or occult inner mental being more to the front, there would be a strengthened power of choice, a sanction, a beginning of authentic free will, which would grow more and more effective. So once the psychic takes over your outer nature, it will be the leader of your mind, it will be leader of your body, it will be leader of your vital. Then you will be spontaneously doing according to the will of the Lord. Basically, it is we can call it our transformation into 3 stages, triple transformation. First, when you find your own psychic or Atma, it will encompass your entire nature. That is called as psychicization. Sri Aurobindo calls this is called as psychic transformation or psycho-spiritual transformation. When once that is achieved, where your actions will be spontaneous, much more easier than being dragged on by your own gravitational qualities. The spiritual transformation comes, where the mind almost goes to the backward, but not completely gone to the backward. Mind is required, but you start getting higher forces from the top, higher levels, overmental levels, even supramental level, light, force, ananda, clarity starts coming in. So in the spiritual level, overmind is the highest level that is possible in the spiritual transformation, which Sri Aurobindo achieved on November 24th, 1926. When he achieved that, he told, real work started now. What is it? Already got a Krishna consciousness, God consciousness. Overmental level is full of gods. Different gods working in different ways. At the same time, they will not forget the unity and the panoramic things. Each god builds his own universe. And he worked for another 24 years, cutting off from his public view, and started intense sadhana, his own rule, to bring down the supramental level. That is the highest possible that a man can achieve. Not for himself, he brought to the world consciousness. So, this overmental level which we are going to tell you now is the highest realm of the spiritual transformation. Before that, I would like to briefly dwell on how the overmind comes from our present level. It cannot be just go like a miracle. First is what is known as the higher mind, a level much higher than our present level, where you escape from the too much of the lower forces, go to a higher level. You will have the sense of unity of the entire world and cosmos without forgetting the multiplicity. That is the beauty of the higher mind. You will not be dragged down by the lower nature. Your qualities of a higher nature, higher light and higher force. Your conception will be more spontaneous. That is the higher mind. But still, mind has got its limitation. It is under the control of the mind. Next comes the illumined mind, where some amount of luster comes into your sadhana. You get lights from the higher level, from the overmental level, sometimes even supramental level. Light starts coming into your feelings, thoughts, and it is more clear. And all your actions dwells from a spiritual light. That is illumined mind. Next comes the intuitive mind, where the things becomes almost spontaneous. Mind is almost goes to the background. He acts through the intuitive level. Suppose a seer sees an object and starts penetrating it. The intuition starts like a spark. What he says is so correct. It is the intuitive level. And Sri Aurobindo composed most of his compositions and poetry from that intuitive level before he achieved overmental level. Overmental level he achieved in year 1926. By 1921, he has finished all his major works. 1914 to 1921. So 7 years in the monthly organ Arya, all his major works were published. That means from the intuitive level. He was not thinking. Mind has gone to the background. But still mind is there. It has not gone up to the overmental level. Mind still acts. It is still there. It's the control of the mind. But it is the highest possible that man can achieve. So that is not the intuitive level. Next comes the overmental level, where it is a kingdom of God, where most of the seers achieve to the maximum of that level. In our first decisive step out of our human intelligence, our normal mentality is an ascent to a higher mind. A mind no longer mingled light and obscurity or half light, but a large clarity of the spirit. The basic substance is Unitarian sense of being with a powerful multiple dynamization, capable of the formation of a multitude of aspects of knowledge. So it's able to conceive multiplicity in unity. Whole as well as multiplicity are not contradictory to its consciousness. But its special character, its activity of consciousness are dominated by thought. It is a luminous thought mind, a mind of spirit born conceptual knowledge. It is a conceptual knowledge. It is in this way that the first working proceeds. It changes the whole being with a new and superior consciousness, lays a foundation of a change, prepares it for superior truth of existence. This is the basic level of higher mind in the spiritual realm. The power of the spiritual higher mind and its idea of force, modified and diminished as it must be by its entrance into our mentality. See, when it comes down, it gets a mixture. Our lower mentality try to mix with the higher mentality. But its entrance into our mentality is not sufficient to sweep out all these obstacles and create the Gnostic being. Gnostic being is supramental being, there is a perfect being. These obstacles are not sufficient. It creates its own way. This greater force is that of the illumined mind. A mind no longer of higher thought, but of spiritual light. Here, the clarity of the spiritual intelligence, its tranquil daylight, gives place or subordinate itself to an intense luster, splendor, and illumination of the spirit. That is the quality of the illumined mind. The illumined mind does not work primarily by thought, but by vision. Thought is here only a subordinate moment, expressive of sight. The human mind, which relies mainly on thought, conceives that to be the highest and the main process of knowledge. But Sri Aurobindo makes a great statement here now. The human mind, which relies mainly on thought, conceives that to be the highest or the main process of knowledge. But in the spiritual order, thought is a secondary and not an indispensable process. It is not an indispensable process. But these two stages of the ascent enjoy their authority and can get their own united completeness only by reference to a third level. For it is from the higher summits where dwells the intuitional being, intuitive mind will come into play, where the highest self before the overmind.